Hey there, we got some people jumping on. Hi, Matt. Just give a few moments for everyone to join. Don't know if we've got any sound yet. Can you hear me, Matt? You all right? Good, cool. How you doing? Hey, Ingrid. Nice to see you. How's your week been, everyone? Having a good week? Yeah, thumbs up. Cool, that's what I like to hear. Hey, John, man of the moment. He's in the house. Awesome. I'm going to pull you out later.
I've literally just got in from work like 10 minutes ago and showered, so.
Oh, bless you. Well, you can chill out for a bit while I yabber on for a while and I'll pull you out later. No worries. Okay, so I'm going to make a start. So this week is a little bit interesting because I've got some stuff to share about the struggles I've been going through with my business recently. And I am, it's a lot of realizations that I've basically got and that have kind of become clear over the last few weeks, I would say, and largely due to the Elite event that was couple of weekends ago now. So first of all, I want to give a little bit of an overview of like where I was at with that whole, like to give you an overview of where I was, because otherwise it won't make any sense. So just a brief recap. Basically, I started marketing in April of this year. I did a tiny bit of marketing at the very beginning of the year, not a lot, but properly started in April. And I very quickly seemed to get results. Like, it wasn't a huge struggle. I shot a couple of ads and then I started to get apps and members and things were all going quite well. But the issue that I had by the time I got to, I guess it was the end of August, beginning of September, was basically that I was beginning to run out of marketing budget. So those of you that are on YouTube know it's a very expensive platform. You have to put a lot into it, first of all, to start, to grow your business. And it takes time for that to come back to you, So my business was working, my system was set up, everything was correct, but I was running out of marketing budget. And around the time, interestingly enough, I was never worried. I never feared running out of money. Welcome to those that are just joining in, by the way. I'm just giving a brief overview of where we're at. I should say as well, before I continue, that everything on this webinar is not the opinion necessarily of Scrap the 9 to 5 or Dan Holloway. These are purely my thoughts, my opinions, and those of anyone else sharing. I meant to say that at the beginning. But yeah, so basically around the end of August, I was running out of money and I decided to pause my marketing campaign. And then I went off, basically went off on holiday. I stepped back from my business. I took some time off, and it combined with a period in my life where there was a lot going on. There was a lot of big changes. So one of those changes was I started working with Dan and started working for Scrap the 9 to 5 in August. And that's a whole nother story in itself. Hey, Sarah. Good to have you here. I'm just doing a little overview of where I'm at before I kind of explain what all these realizations are that I've been having. So yeah, I was going through a stage in my life where there was so much change happening, and you can probably relate where you've had those moments in life where you feel like you've got about 15 plates above your head and you're trying to spin them all, right? And you are like, oh my God, these are all going to come crashing down any minute because I just can't keep up with all of them. And that's where I was. I had my business going. I had just started working with Dan. I was doing Landmark, which, if any of you know about that, it's a like very, very intense, very time consuming personal development kind of course. It's kind of the best way I can explain it. That was taking up kind of just as much time as something like SFM would. So I had that going on, and I also was moving house. So there was a lot of things going on in my life, and I was just at the point where I was like, cannot do it. I've got to put some of these plates down. So hey, welcome those that are just joining. I feel like I should have chatted for a bit before I told this whole recap, because now it's not going to make sense. But if you've just joined, I've just been recapping like where I've been at, and basically I was at a stage where I was really struggling in my business. I had too much going on in my life, and I just took a step back and walked away from it for a while. And that was partly because I'd paused my campaigns because I had run out of marketing budget. So I went on holiday towards the end of September, and the funny thing that happens, as does tend to happen when you step away from your business, and Ingrid's smiling because she knows what I'm going to say. I've heard this story so many times that when you take a break from your business, you walk away from it, you have a rest, the big sales come and you get that influx of money that you need, right? And so I was on my way back from my holiday in Portugal, and Ingrid, who is one of my members, decided to go black. So congratulations, Ingrid, first of all. Amazing.
Sorry, Alex, you're making me very emotional.
Sorry. Well,
it's like I didn't, how much it meant. I knew it meant something, but considering now everything, the backstory. Sorry, carry on.
No, it's absolutely fine. No worries. And sorry for making you emotional. But yeah, so this was really interesting for me because obviously I was incredibly excited for Ingrid. I also went black quite quickly in my SFM journey. So, I have no doubts that it's an amazing thing for anyone who decides to do that. And I've got huge value from my black membership. And what I'm about to say, I don't want it to get misunderstood, but I was extremely excited for Ingrid, but it had very little impact on me. And this was like very interesting. And the reason this came about is because as you do, like I have an accountability group. We talk pretty much every day through WhatsApp messages. Some of you may know some of those members. Christine Frey is in my group. Also Morel Moscow and Cynthia Jesus. And we speak every day, we mastermind, we brainstorm about our businesses, and we've become very close friends. And I told them about my black sale, and they were more excited than I was. And this was a very, like, you might be thinking, what? Like, is she so ungrateful or what? And it wasn't that. It was that I'm not driven by money. I am not motivated by money. It's never been something that, it's just money's money. Like I've had times in my life where I haven't had much money, and then I've kind of worked through that, and I've got to a place in my life where I have this trust now in the universe that I know I'll be okay whatever happens. And it's been proven to me over and over again, because every time I am at a point where I'm almost running out of money, then something incredible like a black sale comes in. It's I also, like the month before I got my job with Dan, that was another, like, I was about to run out of money, I got offered a job. It was, so all these things have happened in my life where I know now that I don't need to worry about that, and I'm not motivated by it. So what happened was, it was a real turning point for me in my business. And at that point, when I got that black sale, I obviously had an influx of money that I knew I could then put towards my marketing. But I didn't want to start marketing again. And I didn't want to start marketing. And at the time, I didn't know why. I just had this internal conflict going on. And I was feeling a lot of doubt. I was really confused if I even wanted to carry on with the affiliate path. I had lost a lot of confidence. I didn't even want to do these webinars around that time. I was really like, I didn't want to do them because I didn't feel that I had any value to share. And I'm telling you this because what I want people to understand is that just because you start getting results in your business, just because you start taking the steps to help people to become a leader and do all the things that we do in this community, it doesn't mean that you've got it all figured out. It doesn't mean that you don't have your doubts, your stuff come up. You know, you're still going to have that. And everyone, like Dan, Valerie, everyone that I know still struggles with these things. Or, you know, they come and go. It's just, we're humans. Stuart even, you know, Jay. I mean, Jay shared all of that at the Toronto Momentum Day. So, you know, if you saw it, you'll know all about that. So, okay, so where am I? So I feel like I'm rushing ahead a bit. I've got notes here because I know there's so much I want to say on this call. I've got to keep myself on track. Okay, so the black sale. So when this came through, what it did was it really made me stop and look at why I had this hesitation to start marketing again. And I remember having this thought in my head, and I think it's very similar to what happened with Dan. And you may have heard him talk about it on his webinars, where for him it was an elite sale, but I remember that he had a notification where an elite sale came in, and then this little voice in his head said, well, that's not enough. And you know, it was basically his like mind was saying to him, well, you know, you're going to need more than one elite sale to make this business successful. And I had exactly the same thought in my head with the black sale. I was like, well, okay, that's great, I've got some marketing budget, but it's not enough. You know, I could spend that in a few months on YouTube, you know. And what I realized at that time was, after a lot of soul searching and wondering why I was going through all of this inner conflict, what I realized was I was totally misaligned with my business, and I was no longer excited about what I was creating, what I was building. And there was a few reasons for that. Essentially, you know, when you start out on this path, and, you know, I joined the SFM last July, so it's not a huge amount of time I've been here. It's, you know, enough that I've made some good progress, but still learning, still got lots of learning to do. But it is a long journey of figuring out like who you are and what you want to create and what your unique message is to offer to the market, and how you can help the people that you want to help. And I had done what a lot of people do, which is, you know, you look up to the people that bring you in, or the people that are making progress with the path that you've chosen. And for me, that was the affiliate path. You look up to them and you essentially model what they're doing. And I know Dan talks a lot about this idea of like not copying, but modeling. And, you know, it is a key thing that we teach here at the SFM. It's how you learn when you're starting out. But my struggle with that has been that I got to a place where I looked ahead at the future of what I was creating, and if I continued down this path, and what I saw was not a business that I wanted to be running. You know, I was like, I was attracting like great people. Like, that's one thing I will say. Like, whenever I speak to my members like Ingrid and other members that I've got that have stuck around, whenever I speak to them, I really connect with them. So I knew that I knew that I had hit my avatar correctly and I was connecting with the right people. But I did not want to just create this like copycat of what everybody else was doing. And the more I got involved with the SFM, the more I started to know about Dan's business, the more I saw like, well, if I carry on doing what I'm doing, if I keep heading down this path, then I'm going to go there. And what I saw there was nothing that I wanted to be involved in. Like I was thinking, oh my God, have I got to do webinars and talk about Tag Manager and Google AdWords and Google Analytics and all of these, like, oh, like kill me now, because that's not gonna be anything that I want to do on a consistent basis, right? It's like that kind of technical stuff, the stuff that Dan is like a wizard at and talks about every week on the webinars. Like, no way, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. And you know, also with like Valerie, you know, Valerie's skills and his really like passion, what he's really passionate about is like he loves testing his landing pages. Like he'll test things like, that man is crazy. Like don't get me wrong, these guys are brilliant, but he literally tests things non-stop. For him it's like a game, and he talks about playing in his business. Everybody else goes to bed in his family and he'll go and play, and his playing is like doing a new landing page and testing something and split testing, and I'm like, oh my God, like no. So essentially I found myself in this place where I saw myself creating much of the same because I'd followed in their footsteps. And what I want to get across in this webinar is that it's so important to think about what type of business you want to create. It's so important to make sure that it's in alignment with you. And yes, learn from the leaders. Yes, you know, learn from the people that are successful, but then go and put your own spin on it. Go and be creative with what you've learned, and like you've got to put your passion into it. Because the reason I was so stuck and the reason I didn't want to start marketing again is because I'd lost all passion for my business, because all of the creativity from it was gone. Because when you're modeling other people and you're just following footsteps, there's none of you. That's nothing of you. It's not, you're not creating anything really. You're just copying some or modeling, you know. But to me, they're very similar. And I see so many videos on YouTube, so many SFM members, and we're like, I think, you know, a lot of us are guilty of this, where there is so much of the same stuff out there. And for me, that just it was very boring. And for me, it also just felt very inauthentic. And this led me to being in this place where I was completely stuck. And I knew that I wanted to create something that was much more in alignment with me, that was much more about my purpose, my passion, like my unique gifts. But I had no frigging idea what they were. So it was almost like back at step one. It was like I'd gone through this whole phase of like creating this business. And then I was like right back at step one, where I was like, what am I creating? Like, what am I good at? What's my unique gift to the world? Like, it was right back at step one. So I'm just checking my notes to make sure I'm on track. And if you've got any questions, by the way, feel free to jump out and ask them. I will have time for some questions at the end as well, if I don't talk for too long. And John will come out in a bit as well. So this is where I was at before the Elite event, okay? And then I went to the Elite event the other weekend, which some of you were at, and it was awesome to see you there. Kieran at my table, awesome dude. It was really lovely to meet you there. And at the Elite event, I decided to go very last minute, because I was in this like negative space about my business. So I wasn't particularly like excited to go to the event, which, like, for me, that's really rare, because like I love SFM. Like, if there's anyone who shouts about SFM in the community as much as me, then well, there are people, but but I'm up there with the top ones that are like shouting about this community, and I love everything about it. But I was in this very negative space about my business, and anyway, with a bit of a nudge from Dan, I decided to go. And I went with very little expectations of what I was going to get from the events, and it was so much more than I ever could have imagined. And from the very first evening, like the Friday night before the event even began, every single conversation that I had with each member of the community, excuse me, members of leadership, even my own members that were there, every single conversation I had, it was like this little piece of a puzzle that just slotted into place. And by the time I left at the end of the weekend, I had pretty much all the pieces of the puzzle. So it couldn't have been like, it was like night and day from like where I was before the event to where I am now. So just in case you're wondering, I'm very excited about my business now, and I'm really motivated and can't wait to, like, my problem now is I just don't have enough time to work on it. But the will is there, the motivation is there. So the first conversation I had that was significant was with Valerie. At the Friday night meetup, before the event had started, I sat down with Valerie while he was having dinner, and he started to ask me a series of questions. And it seems so obvious, and I've heard people talk about it so many times, but this is a really powerful technique, and I encourage you all to do it, especially if you're feeling stuck or you don't know what your message is to your avatar, to the market. And all he did was ask me the question, why? So he started by asking me, why did you join SFM? And I spoke, and then he said, why? And I spoke, and he said, why? And it was why, until there was literally nothing left. And what we boiled it down to, at the very root of all of those layers of questioning, was that everything that I'm passionate about and excited about is all to do with relationships, connection, love, and community. It has nothing to do with online business, digital marketing, or any of that stuff. So I need to find a way in my business to connect it to the things that I'm passionate about. Otherwise, my business is never going to be in alignment with me, right? So I encourage you to do this exercise. I then, the second day, the first day of the event, the Saturday, Justin was on stage, and people were asking questions. And one of the members of our community, Sophie, asked a question. We'd had this conversation between us, but she was struggling with this idea that everybody was talking about the pain points, which is, if you know anything, if you've started to work on your ad or your script, you'll know that there's a process to go through, and talking about the pain points is how you hook people in. And she wasn't feeling aligned with that. She felt very resistant to that because she's a very happy, positive person, and she wanted to have a more inspiring message that was more about what you can create and what is possible, rather than focusing on the pain and like the dark side, if you like. So anyway, she was asking Justin about this, and I mean, he said, you do whatever you want to do, but he was explaining, why it's effective to talk about the pain. And while that conversation was happening, I was so triggered. I was so triggered because this was bringing up all of that internal conflict that I was having about how everybody's doing the same thing. And I could just see that, this community is amazing, and everything that the leaders are teaching is amazing, but we are in danger of all just copying each other and following the same path. And I feel very passionately that is not what Stuart and Jay want to create. They want us to become entrepreneurs who know how to market our own business, and that can be anything that we want it to be. And I feel very strongly that, for us to feel aligned with our business and to feel authentic we need to be learning how to do that. So I was getting very triggered during this conversation, and I did not want to talk about it in a room of like 200 and something people because it felt very controversial, you know. Obviously I work for Dan and he was there, and I didn't want to say anything that might be inappropriate, and it just felt like a very controversial subject. But I couldn't ignore it, and I took the opportunity and put my hand up. And those of you that are there will know that I got very nervous because it felt controversial. So I suddenly realized what I was saying in front of a room of all these people, and I had the whole of the like SFM community looking at me, and I was like, oh my God. And I got very shy and embarrassed, and yes, it still happens. You know, once upon a time I didn't even want to speak on webinars that someone else was running, let alone run my own webinars. So, you know, this is a journey that you go through, and we're all learning and growing the whole time. So Justin, I mean, Justin was amazing, obviously, no doubt about that. And you know, he did immediately put me at ease, and he actually said, like, give this girl a round of applause for bringing this up, like, well done, you know. And he said, we don't need another Dan Holloway, you know, like, we want you to be you. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's great, but I don't know how to do that. I only know what I'm learning, which is do this, do that. Like, I still don't really know how to make it uniquely me. And so for the benefit of those that weren't there, he started to say, well, what's unique about you? And at that point I got quite emotional, because this was the bit I was stuck at. This was the bit that I was struggling with. I didn't know the answer to that, you know, and I hadn't been feeling very confident. I'd really been like lacking. I had not been feeling that I had anything unique or of value to share. So that triggered a lot of emotion in me. And instead he then asked, well, what have you learned while you're like, since you've been with the SFM? And that was an easier question for me to answer. And so I said a few things, and like with each thing that I said, he turned to the rest of the people there and said, well, is that something you'd like to learn? And like everybody put their hand up. And you know, it was kind of like a breakthrough moment for me, because it made me start to realize how far I've come in a short amount of time. And I think what happens here a lot of the time is that we do so much learning in a really short period of time. We go through so much transformation, we go through so much growth, and we forget where we started. And then we sit there going, well, I need to make a piece of like YouTube content, or I need to write an email broadcast, and I don't know, I've got nothing important to say. Like, what value have I got to share? How can I help anyone? And you know, like, unless it's just me, like, you get those negative voices in your head, right? And we forget that all the things that we've been learning, so many people in this world, they don't know, you know. So many people don't even stop and ask these questions. So many people are just going through the motions, doing their 9 to 5, 9 to 9, whatever it is, you know, dealing with all their responsibilities, looking after families and all that kind of stuff. And they're not even, maybe not because they don't want to, but maybe they just don't have time or energy or space in their life to take a moment to ask these important questions about who they are and what they want to do with their life and how they want to help people and give back, and what would be a business or a job that's in alignment with them. And you know, we're incredibly privileged to be in this position and have this opportunity. And so essentially it was kind of like a big wake up moment for me, where I realized that I have learned a lot, and I have got a lot of value to share, and I have got a lot to say. And after that day I went back to the hotel room and I just wrote like pages and pages in my journal, and none of it was like logical. None of it was coming from the brain of like, oh, I need to do something. How can I fit this in a box of what I'm supposed to do? It was, oh, let me just get rid of that. I just got a notification on my computer. It was all like literally pouring from my heart. So I knew that it was so authentic to me because I didn't have to stop and think about it. And it's been an ongoing process since then, but all of the things that I discovered were that I'm very passionate about self-expression and authenticity, hence this webinar, and hence like that I get super excited talking about it. And the more people I spoke to over the weekend, because a lot of people came up to me after that and expressed gratitude that for my share, because it had helped them, it had triggered something in them as well. And the more I spoke about it, like the more excited I was getting and the more passionate I was. And then you couldn't shut me up. And it was Christine Frey, actually, she sent me a message and she was like, this is how you know you've found your thing, because you literally have to stop yourself from talking about it. So like, if you don't know what your passion is or what your like message to market is, like one of the things you can try to look for is what's that thing that like when you start talking about it, you just get so emotional. It's like it's often really hard to notice because we're so close to it. And one of the things I learned from the brand incubator process, which, you know, obviously is delving into all of these things, like finding your purpose, finding your mission, your vision in the world. What I learned from that process is that the things that are really in alignment with you, your purpose, your mission, your vision, and like your unique gift to the world, it's stuff that is so core to your personality, to who you are, that you don't see it as anything special because it's just who you are. So you'll never sit there and be like, oh, my unique gift to the world is to talk about authenticity and self-expression and finding your truth and your unique gift, because it's like you need a mirror to reflect that to you, because it's so core to who you are that it's just part of your personality. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, good. Okay. So you might be wondering by this point, well, that's wonderful, Alex, but how do you tie in affiliate marketing with all of this? And that would be a very good question. And that is the question I was left with by the Sunday. So by this point, I was getting some understanding of what I want my business to be aligned with, and how I feel that I can help people, and things that are going to excite me to talk about. But I still wasn't quite sure how I could tie that in with selling SFM, online marketing, online business education. Like, and I had all of these thoughts going on in my mind. And then I had a conversation with Stevie G. Amazing Stevie G. If any of you have spoke to him, he is an awesome, he's just awesome. He's like a father figure, and he's one of the elite mentors. If any of you are at that level, then highly recommend getting on a call with him. And he started to say to me, well, the way you need to see it, and this was missing for me, and I think it's missing for a lot of people, which is why another reason I wanted to talk about this. So he said to me, like, the thing that you want to create, this idea you now have, which, it's not formulated into anything specific, and that's okay. It doesn't matter, because I just know that I'm going somewhere that is in alignment with me. I don't need specifics right now, because I'm just excited about the possibility of what it could be. So he described it, say your business that's in alignment with you, the lifestyle that you want to create and help other people to have. you can look at it like it's a shelf, right? Now, bear with me while I explain this analogy that he used. Now, his language was not the kind of language I would use. It was all very much from a like DIY perspective. And I'm not really into DIY, but he basically was saying, like, imagine your business is your shelf. Yeah. This is where you want to go. This is the thing you want to create. This is the like end goal. And this is the thing that's really in alignment with you. But in order to get there, in order to put up the shelf, you need a drill and you need a drill bit, right? Are you with me so far? Yeah, maybe? Okay. Yeah, okay. So he was like, you can't just go straight to the shelf. You can't just put the shelf up. You can't go straight there, right? There's the stepping stones. There's a pathway. There's a process. So he was saying the drill bit is SFM. The drill bit is your affiliate marketing business, right? You've got to sell the drill bit in order to then like create the drill or have the drill, which will get you that one step closer, whatever that is. You'll figure that out along the way, right? And then when you've got the drill, you've got the drill bit, you've got the drill, then you can put up the shelf, right? So it's like very obvious in some ways, but I think so many people are missing this point, and people are missing the point that what we're learning here, at least like I wasn't missing it, but I didn't know how to create it. But I think we're missing the point of like the ability to really create whatever we want to create, and whatever that looks like for you as an individual, for you with your purpose and your passion, and the thing that is going to get you out of bed every day excited to work on your business, you know, because I know that if I just carried on kind of doing what everyone else has been doing, like very quickly I'm going to lose motivation, going to lose passion for that. And it's kind of like you might have to do some of the stuff you don't really want to do. Like you kind of going to have to talk a little bit about online business and digital marketing and all that kind of stuff for a period of time in order to get to where you want to get to. But it's okay, because you know that you have this vision of something bigger that is more exciting to you. So that's the driving force that keeps you going when you're not very excited by the maybe day-to-day things that you have to do, like dealing with things like Google Tag Manager. Like everybody seems to want to throw their laptop out the window when they get to that stage. I know very few people who've just sailed through that process. So, okay, so where am I? Is it all making sense so far? Yeah, good. Okay. Feel free to pop out and ask questions if you want. I'm going to try and wrap my bit up in a minute for questions and John's sharing, because we're already at like 20 to 7. So essentially, after that talk with Stevie G, I went back to my brand incubator process, and thankfully I had not locked in my mission and my vision yet. So you go through a lot of calls with your coaches and you do a lot of work. You know, brand incubator process can take a long time depending on how fast you do the work, basically. And I had done a lot of the work, but I hadn't locked it in, and so nothing was finalized. And I now know, looking back with hindsight, I hadn't locked that in because I didn't have 100% like certainty that I had fully nailed it. You know, like there was something missing in my mission statement that kept me from like finalizing it. So in the last week or so, that's what I've been doing. I've been going back to that, and it's so interesting because everything that I've talked about, all of the things that, all the realizations, all the stuff that came up for me over the last few weeks, it's all there in my brand incubator. It's all there already, all of it. Like JJ's already found it in my purpose. My coach Dino had already found it in all my values and my skills. And I just had to find it for myself. I had to like see that stuff in play in my life, because it's all very well someone saying to you, well, these are your values and this is your purpose. And you're like, okay, great. But am I like I felt connected to it, but I had to have a period of time with that just in my life and being like, oh yeah, there's that thing again showing up. Oh yeah, there's that thing again showing up. And this, so like the point of this is basically, if you are stuck, if you're not sure that you're creating something that's in alignment with you, and if you've got any like doubts about the affiliate path or what your unique gift is, what your message is, who you want to help, who you want to target, there are a few questions that you can ask yourself. And first of all, I'll just say that I did manage to catch a little bit of Gareth's In Focus call this morning. He does it, I think it's every 2 weeks on a Wednesday at 11 o'clock. And he was talking about a very similar topic, and he seems to be in a very kind of similar stage. I get the feeling that a lot of people are in this stage at the moment, and I think it's something to do with the planets, you know, without going too deep. There tend to be these themes, and I definitely know of a few people who are in this space already. So what you can do is you can ask yourself these questions. So number one, who are you? And Gareth did a whole In Focus call about this a couple of weeks ago. So if you have no idea, check out that call. And then the second question to ask yourself is, what are you passionate about? Now, that is a really hard thing to answer for some people. You know, we start to like use labels and things and we don't really know, or maybe you know, but you know, maybe you don't know how you can relate that to your online business. But what you can do is start to notice, like I said before, start to notice when you get really excited about talking about something, when you just can't shut up, when your friends, your family have to basically tell you to shut up because you're just going to go on and on about it because it's you, it's who you are, right? And if you don't know what that is, just start to notice when that happens, and your themes will appear. And then the third question is, what's your unique gift to the world? And we all have one, right? We all have one. And our unique gift, like, we are unique. And I love this. Amy Taylor said this to me recently. She was like, we're all unique purely from our DNA, you know? And it's so true. But we're all also really unique because of the experiences that we've had, our past experiences, and how they've shaped our world and our perspective of the world and how we approach our life and our mindset. They're all things that have made us completely unique. And from those experiences, we have value to share. We have so much value and wisdom to give to other people. And the problem is just a lot of the time we don't realize that, because we've learned the lessons, we've moved through that period of our life. But like, the stuff we've been through, and it's usually the stuff that's been difficult, the pain that we've experienced, the dark times in our life, you know, the times when we've felt really like knocked down and we've had to get back up again. Those are the times, those are the things, the like unique experiences that we have then like that gift to share with the world, because there are gifts in that pain, because we're all still here and we've all moved through them. So that means we all learned lessons, okay? You know, unless you're still repeating them, and then maybe you've got a bit more work to do, and that's okay. That's also part of the process. So that would be the place to start. And then in order to align this with your business, the thing to remember is that the drill bit is just one small bit, right? And you don't have to direct people straight to the video series if you don't want, right? So one of the things I'm considering now is creating an advert that sends people to something else that I create, you know, like maybe I write a blog post or a PDF or a small ebook, or maybe I shoot a small video series. Like, it doesn't have to be some monumental thing, but something of value for the specific people that I want to help. and this, an example of someone who's already doing this and learning from this at the moment, again, is Gareth. He's just shot a whole video series that is very spiritual and more in alignment with him and who he wants to target. It hasn't had a huge amount of success yet, but he's got to tweak it and play with it. And, you know, you're going to have to test that. But the point is that, like, think about who you actually want to help. And the best place to start with that is often, you know, looking at those big things in your life that you've overcome. You know, who are the people that you want to help, and what do they need to hear right now in that space where you were, when you needed help, when you were struggling and suffering? What from the lessons that you've learned can you now offer to those people? And that is how you'll find your message to market. By going through that process and getting clear on who you want to help, how you can help them, you will then get clear on like a key message to market. And it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. So if you still feel stuck or you're not making progress with it, like, be kind to yourself. That's okay. Like, you know, you sometimes just have to surrender and accept that that's where you are, but you can still start playing with things. And I think it's just really important to, like, remember that we can create whatever type of business we want to create. And in order for us to stay excited and motivated and passionate and in alignment with our business, it needs to be coming from you. So don't be afraid to do something different, and just take the skills, take the knowledge that you're learning, and then play with it. Like, literally, because when you are in alignment with what feels good for you, it's fun, it's exciting, and you will just go out there and you will create. And okay, the first few things you do, I don't know, like, they might not get much of a response. Trial and error, right? Take up Valerie's approach, test stuff, you know, keep tweaking it until you get it right. And that is the way that you're going to build a list and a following of people who, like, resonate with you, because you're really speaking their language and you're not trying to emulate like Dan Holloway's success or Valerie's success. You're not trying to be like them. You're not trying to, like, just model other people. It's got to be unique to you. At least that's how I feel about it. So that's all I wanted to share, really. So thank you for listening to me talk for a very long time. First of all, are there any, actually, I think what we'll do is we'll go straight to John's share, because he's been waiting very patiently. So if you've got questions, if you're worried you're going to forget them, pop them in the chat, and I'll come back to them in a minute. If you've got like a burning question now based on all of that stuff that I've just said, and we'll hear a bit from John, and then we'll have some questions. So just to introduce John properly. So I mean, guys, if you saw the Visionary Call, you'll know that, like, this guy has had some amazing like breakthroughs and realizations over the last few weeks and a bit longer, I guess. And, you know, John's been mega inspiring to this community. And when I met him at the event, one of the first things this guy said to me was that he was, like, really nervous and worried about having a conversation, or like keeping a conversation. And I was like, but we've been talking for like about half an hour or something by this point. I was like, what are you talking about? You're perfectly capable of having a conversation. So I'm going to let John share, but anyway, just to say that I know that he's been making noise in this community, and people are noticing, like, good noise, because he's being authentic, right? He's sharing his journey with everyone, the struggles and everything. And this is, I think, what is so powerful about this community, because when we hear of other people's experiences and their struggles and their difficulties, we then feel less alone. We know, oh, you're like, oh, thank God it's not just me, you know. And so anyway, John, over to you. I'd love you to share whatever's in your heart that you want to share about the takeaways that you got from the Elite event the other weekend.
Thank you, Alex. Hello, everybody. Yeah, heart's pounding now. I'm nervous. First of all, I'm just going to give you a massive shout out because you are such a ray of light, ball of energy, awesome person, and everything that you've just said over the past, hour pretty much is it's just so relatable, and that's why I connected so much with you at the event, is because you just spoke straight from in here. It took a little while, like me, it took a little while to process what Justin was saying, and we had to break it down, but then all of a sudden it was just like bam, and you were like, yes, and something just clicks. And I suppose to really summarize the whole event for me, and my biggest takeaway, if I can sort of put it into one sort of bubble, because there were so many individual fears I had throughout the event. My biggest one really is to be yourself. I turned up at the hotel on the Friday morning, and I'd sort of started talking to Curls and Rochelle, and I saw Cordelia there. Then I met David, and I was starting to sort of have these conversations. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a massive introvert, huge social anxiety. I'm sat here shaking at the moment just talking, but I don't go out, I don't talk to people, I don't have conversation. Just putting sentences together, putting words together is just something that I just struggle with. And for me to be able to break into the event slowly and get there early and start talking to people, it sort of eased me in gently, although I was still terrified inside. Alex, I'm never gonna forget the time we met. You literally came running up to me, arms open, wanted to give me a hug, and it was great because it just put me at ease. And everybody in the community was like that. One of the people who I was dying to meet was Caroline Grubb, because she's a natural on camera. She knows how to talk. She's such a lovely, bubbly person. And again, as soon as she caught sight of me, that was it, running over and hugs and talking about it. It's as you said to me, we're family. It's like we're one massive family. Within the first few hours of the Saturday morning, I was not in a good place. Being surrounded by 150, 200 people was terrifying for me. And I was scared. I didn't know how to cope with the situation. I didn't want to make a fool of myself, but at the same time, somewhere deep inside me, it just felt right being there. And I just knew somehow I had to just find a way of dealing with it. I've had this for years, this problem. I just thought, I've got to just sit here. I've got to just do this. How am I going to cope with this for 2 days? I was literally sat there just like, squeezing my hands and shaking my arms and, trying not to go into a full-blown anxiety attack. And Coles pulled me to one side and she just said, on the break, she said, just chill. She said, be yourself. You're fine. She said, calm down. Look at everyone around you. We're all being ourselves. Everyone's hugging and laughing and talking. And she was right. I was getting worked up for no reason at all. And I suppose, again, just trying to summarize, because I know we're limited on time. For me, since the very start of this journey, I've gone straight into this and I've been like, right, I want to create an online business. I want to be an affiliate. Right. I've seen all the modules from Jay and Stuart and, okay, so it's all about doing this, this, and this. This is what I've got to do. Okay. So I'm going to build my site, do me Aweber and boom, 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 boom. And, after I had 6 weeks off with a broken foot. So I was just going through the training like bam, bam, bam. And I was fit to explode after 6 weeks. And I think, what was it? I wrote the dates down. The 30th of June, I joined SFM. 2.5 weeks later, or 3 weeks later, I think it was about the 20th of July, I went black. So it was like 2 or 3 weeks. And I mean, Alex, you know exactly where I'm coming from. When you go from sort of joining SFM to elite to black, and from nowhere, it's just the amount of people that you have around you, and the knowledge and everything else. It's just completely overwhelming. And I almost went into shutdown mode. I didn't know how to cope. And through this process, I then started to become like Dan Holloway or like Stuart. And I was very like, okay, so I'm going to make an online business. This is how I'm going to do this. This is how I'm going to do that. And all the while I'm sat back here and I'm like, John Brooks Lifestyle. I don't like that domain. It's just, it's just one that I picked because Stuart said that's sort of a good place to start. Use your name. You do this, do that. Okay, well, yeah, it's about my lifestyle. We'll do that. But it's just completely not me. It's just got nothing to do with what I want to do. For me personally, I want to be leaving my job to spend time with my family and then go and tour the world. I want to travel. For someone who's been an introvert for so long and who struggles to talk. And sorry, I find it difficult to talk about sometimes.
No, you're doing great, John. Don't worry.
I want to be able to travel the world and talk to everybody. I want to be able to travel to all across America, Asia, even Japan, try and learn some Japanese or something. I don't know. But I just want to surround myself with people because this planet is so flippin' awesome and life is so goddamn short that why would you want to be stuck in, behind four walls and a laptop screen? For me, it's not my idea of a life. I want to be able to set up my business and I want to be able to create John's adventure of a lifetime. That's the flipping website I want. And I was on a webinar with Danny Ham last night and we had about an hour and a half conversation. Halfway through the webinar, he made me buy the domain.
Brilliant.
Because he was just like, man, you know what you want to do, just do it. And I did. And I feel so, just like you, Alex, I feel completely like elated. I feel so goddamn happy because I can't see exactly how my future looks. I don't know when I'm going to be able to give up my job. I don't know when I'm going to finish my house renovation. I don't know where I'm going to be in 2 years' time. But I'll tell you something, I'm going to be happy because I'm happy now. And I think that's the biggest takeaway for me is the fact that I don't need to be anxious. I don't need to be scared. I don't need to feel like I need to do things in a certain way. And there is a set path because there isn't. There's all these people in this community and there's all these webinars and stuff. They're here to guide you. Dan Holloway, yes, he's incredible. He's unique, but his gift is sharing what he knows with everybody else. And that's why I went up to him at the elite event and thanked him, because the value he gives everybody is just priceless, because the guy just gives his time and he makes us realize that we can do anything we want to do, and yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, John. No, that was brilliant. And I love everything that you shared there. And first of all, I want to say that you absolutely are capable of formulating a sentence. You just spoke beautifully and I understood very clearly what you were trying to say. So, I just want to say well done, because I know that isn't easy for you, but this is your journey of growth that you're on, and like you've started by doing this in this community, and it won't be long before we won't be able to shut you up. You'll be running around the world, traveling the world, spreading this message, and it's fantastic. And what you said there about being happy now, this is really the essence of like kind of everything that I said over the last hour. this is really the thing. It's like, if you're not building something that is in alignment with you, it's going to be a struggle. Like, it's going to be frigging painful, and you're just going to be like, if all you're doing is thinking, I've got to make this sale, I've got to get this income goal, I want to get to L1, or I want to get on the leaderboard, or whatever it is, if that's all that's motivating you, unless that genuinely is what motivates you, because there are some people where that drives them and that motivates them, and if that's you, that's fine, you know, like, I'm not making anyone wrong, whatever works for you. But if that doesn't work for you, and you're doing that just because that's kind of what you've heard and that's what you see other people doing, and I know that that's what I did, you know, I had these like, okay, like, I'm going to have this income goal and this goal of this many members, I want to get to 10 for 10, and these kind of goals, and it was like, so what? Like, I don't even care about any of that, and that is not going to make me happy on a day-to-day basis, if you know. So if you're like that, make sure that whatever you're working towards is making you happy now, because like John said, you don't know how long it's going to take, you know. Like, Dan is amazing and did what he did exceptionally fast, and a few people have been able to do that, but not everyone. A lot of people's journeys take a lot longer, and that's perfect, you know, because you've got to go through your own process, you've got to learn for yourself, and you're going to have different challenges that come up for you to overcome personally to make you the person that you want to be. So all of it is perfect, so there shouldn't be any timeline on it. But if there's a timeline on it, then there's stress, then there's these conditions, and then the day-to-day experience of the journey is not a satisfying one, let alone a happy one, like where John is now, right? So just make sure that you find whatever it is that gives you that happiness right now. So I know that we are over already, but I want to give you a chance to ask questions. So if people need to drop off, I respect your time, it's no problem, feel free to do that, but if you have questions, then I'm happy to stick around a little bit longer to answer those. So I'm just looking in the chat. So far we've just got nice comments for John. So Carl says, go on John lad. And James Peters says, awesome. So lots of love for you there, John. Has anyone got any questions for myself or John for anything that we've shared, or anything you want to add from your experiences? It doesn't have to be a question as such. If you do, raise your hand or just unmute and come out. Or have we stunned everyone into complete silence? Who's talking? Kieran? No. Yeah. Oh, hey, Mike. I couldn't tell who was talking. Hey, how you doing, Mike?
I'm fine. Doing good. Just enjoying this journey. And I'm listening to what you've had to say there. I can relate to it because I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want to give to the right people, and so yes, I can, and also I can relate with John. And I was just typing in a message there, and I thought, no, I'll come out and I'll speak, because when I was 19, or nearly 50 years ago, I struggled with conversation. I couldn't speak to people. I felt so isolated. I was introverted. I wouldn't push myself. And the very first course I ever did was a course on how to be a good conversationalist. And I set off for this course, and it came through the post, and it just gave you ideas on how to speak to people. So I just wanted to let John know that he's not on his own. Or he's not on his own anyway, and he's getting over it. And I wish I could do a webinar like what you just did there, John. I thought you were fantastic, considering what you've gone through and where you are now. But yeah, this just listening to what you were saying there, Alex, excited me. It made me think, yes, there is more to this SFM than meets the eye. And I'm doing it, like everybody else. I want to make some money. But now I've been in it for, I think, coming up to 8 months, I've realised it's far, far more than the money's not important anymore. The important thing is, I think, is finding out who I am, what I've got to offer, and helping other people get out of where they are and find a better life for themselves. And and that's what we're doing, this whole community, that's what we're doing. And in fact, I put in a post today, something about if only people knew what we had here. And it's our responsibility to get out there and educate them, and then bring in as many people as we can for their benefit. So, well, I'll finish there. I could go on, actually, and that's me who had to learn how to be a conversationalist.
Amazing, Mike. That's absolutely amazing. And there's some passion there, because you didn't want to stop talking, right? So this is exactly, you say you don't know who you are and what you have to share, but how inspirational was that, guys? Like, everything that he just said, how friggin' awesome was that? Like, you could run a webinar, Mike. There's no reason that you couldn't, because that was inspiring as hell. And I love that. So thank you for coming out and sharing that.
No problem.
Anybody else have anything to say?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Kieran. Hello.
How are you doing?
I am very good. How are you?
I'm really good. It's really, really good to speak to you again. And I just wanted to say that I think I was one of the luckiest people in that whole room. And this is going to sound cheesy, but to actually have you at my table, because we bounced off each other. Like, as soon as you spoke, as soon as you had your epiphany, as soon as you shared what you shared, it just, light bulbs went off in my own head, and it was just fantastic. And again, it's like that. Like, I have been, doing the modules and getting ready to market and going through the crazy year that has been 2019 for me, and surviving it. And only, God, it was literally the Saturday of the Elite event that I launched my first campaign on Bing. And even at that, I traveled to London knowing that I wasn't happy with my ad, and but I just wanted to get it out there. That was my goal, and I reached it. But for me as well, it was the realization that it's not the fact that, like, I didn't leave my job. I realize now I didn't leave my job because I hated my job. I didn't leave my job because I was dealing with bullying from the age of 15. I didn't go traveling and living in South Africa for 3 years because of all of those things. All of those things were a byproduct. And what I did realize is they were a byproduct of the fact that I never knew who I was and what I'm about and what I bring to the table. And I'm still trying to figure that out. But I'm so looking forward to the brand incubator, to everything that's available to me. And I'm going to dive in head first. And I'm looking forward to that. But I'm already approaching the ads. And as I was saying to you there the other day, like, the script writing that I was doing, like, I'm already approaching it completely differently. Like, I'm approaching it, like, literally with full focus on the people out there, instead of spending 80% of the ad like talking about my pain and hoping somebody's going to relate with that. Like, it's just like, no, it's just questions. So yeah, I just got so much out of the Elite event, and I really believe I'm starting a new journey now, with a little bit more clarity.
Awesome, Kieran. That is incredible. And yeah, hats off to you for, just going out there and doing what feels right for you. I think, if there's anything I wanted to get across in this webinar, then it's that,
Yeah.
just, yeah.
And coming back from one of your own suggestions, I had a chat with my wife, Michelle, and she's totally on for coming to the next event as a guest.
Yes.
Totally on for it. So that is something I never would have even considered if it wasn't for you. So brilliant.
Oh, good. I'm really glad to hear that. Yeah, Kieran mentioned to me at the event that he you wanted to get your wife a bit more involved and excited. And I was just like, well, why don't you bring her to let her meet everyone? She can come as a guest to Momentum Day, the next Momentum Day, So yeah, brilliant. I can't wait to meet her. Yeah. Okay, well, unless there's any dying, burning questions, I'm going to give one last chance for anyone who wants to jump out. But otherwise, I'm aware that we're quite a bit over time. So I think we'll call it a wrap. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I really hope that this has been valuable. Thank you so much, John, for coming out and sharing what you shared. I could have spoke to you for a whole webinar, but I wanted to ease you in. I know that this is still quite new to you, so maybe we'll do another one in the future. But yeah, thank you to everyone who shared, because you all had amazing value to give. And this is like really what I want to encourage everyone, like, get on those live webinars, mastermind with people who you connect with, like, find your people within this community and share with them what you're going through. Because there will be times you get stuck, there will be times when you're struggling, and that is when reaching out to the community and sharing what you're going through is going to be really powerful. And the lessons that you learn from that process will help others who are in a similar space or not quite there yet. So don't forget what amazing value, unique value, you all have to offer to the world. So I will leave you with that. Thank you very much. I will see you, some of you, I hope, at the Scrap the 9 to 5 meetup that we're having next Monday. What day is it today? Yeah, next Monday. Oh, it's been a long week already. Next Monday, the 18th, we're meeting in Birmingham at Sky by the Water Bar in Resort World. And I have reserved us the secret garden area, so very exciting. I hope it's not going to be too cold. I might have to bring my hot water bottle. But yeah, if anyone's going to be there, I look forward to seeing you there. And if not, see you soon on a webinar or somewhere in the world one of these days. Lots of love. Bye, everyone.